Your Xbox is getting an upgrade, and Phil Spencer's interview talks about the future and a little bit of the past. It's that time of the month where Xbox is talking about upgrading your console for no additional dollar dues. Now, this focused update, if you will, is really particular about cloud streaming and everything else, which Phil Spencer has said in an interview recently, and by recent I mean like quite literally yesterday, that streaming is one of the fastest things growing inside of Xbox, and so them focusing on streaming maybe isn't all that unprecedented. So this update is the April dashboard or Xbox update, whatever you want to call it, and there's a lot to unpack here, and it's just generally a good thing. So let's dive into that before talking about Mr. Phil Spencer. But the Xbox mobile app is getting something that many of us have wanted for a very, very long time. You can now buy your games directly in the app. Let's be real here. Sometimes navigating the Xbox dashboard to go find a game and download is not exactly a straightforward procedure, right? It's cumbersome trying to type in your names or whatever the names and all that stuff on the console. Screw it, that is now the past. You can now do this on the Xbox app. Now, one of the things that jumped out to me is like, was this the thing that Sarah Bond was talking about? They were going to launch last July. Remember that was supposed to happen and never really did. I'm not quite sure because a lot of that stuff was like tied to Candy Crush, and maybe that is available to be purchased here. But either way, you can now buy games, get perks, and sign up for Game Pass directly from the mobile app, which you'd have to think at this point is related to that whole Apple Google App Store fiascos where they're talking about like you can't do this and then they'll block you and it's not safe. That's what Apple and Google say. But Microsoft is forging ahead with this in some areas. But this is a good thing, in my opinion. Makes it easier for customers to get what they want, where they want it, and where honestly they expect it. The fact that you couldn't do this previously, which I do not believe for any second was a technical limitation, now is finally happening. So be on the lookout for that. It's going to be a lot easier to purchase and sign up for all this stuff. Other things, you can now stream your own game on your Xbox consoles. This is something we knew was coming because Microsoft has quite told us it's coming, and now it's rolling out. This is a big deal. This is really changing the dynamics of what the console is and where your games are and how they function. Typically, we've thought of like, hey, I own a game, it's on this box, that's the only place I can play it. Microsoft is breaking down those walls with this functionality, and they should be applauded for that, right? They're not making it more expensive to do this as long as you're paying for Game Pass Ultimate. This is just part of the bundle that you're already paying for. And so it may not be for everybody, and I'm very cautious to admit that, but it's for, everybody can do it. It's if you need it, it's there. And so to expand upon that, Microsoft is saying you can now stream over 100 plus games at the end of the day. Now, Microsoft loves to use the numbers like 100 plus. It must be some psychological thing because when they talk about Game Pass, they're like, there's 100 plus games in Game Pass. We know that it's actually several hundred, if not even higher than that at this point, but it must be that psychological thing where 100 plus is better than like 272 games. So whatever, that is Microsoft's marketing prerogative, and there you go. One of the more befuddling changes here, which we'll talk about here in just a second, it says access to Xbox Remote Play from more devices, which on the surface sounds really, really good. However, I think there's more to the story. Let me read directly what Xbox wrote here on their blog. It says players can now play any game installed on their console by visiting xbox.com/remoteplay on any device with a supported web browser. All sounds good and dandy, right? While access to Xbox Remote Play will no longer, and let me emphasize, no longer be available directly from the Xbox app, mobile players will be able to still play this from the device's browser. Now, why would Xbox, who very clearly had this implemented from a technological perspective, remove this from the Xbox app? Again, I think this goes back to Apple and Google saying like, look, if you're streaming stuff from inside your app and all that, like that's against our policy. Only we're allowed to do that, or you got to give us 30% of that streaming service or something like that. We know that there's been a lot of funkiness related to stores and streaming and all that stuff on iOS and on Google for that matter, and I suspect that these things might be intertwined, but that is some loss of functionality, and I'm sure there's more than one person who is using it. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but given what we know about the stores and how all this stuff all operates, it would not surprise me if that is all related. Now, other things coming, game hubs, which we knew were coming, Microsoft was talking about these previously, are now rolling out. Now, these things can be turned off. I consider these things like sort of chaotic neutral, if you will. The reason why I say chaotic neutral is that it's changing a core habit where you press A on a game and then you start playing the game. Now you have to press A and press A again, which again, that's not like crazy. And it will give you more information on your display. You can turn this off. And so I'm sure some people will love it. I'm sure others will just turn it right off, but whatever, it's there, it's available, it's functionality. And so, that's just another little upgrade. Other things Xbox is doing. So we all know that Doom is coming, right? I'm very much looking forward to this one. And so of course, there are limited edition items you can go purchase from an Xbox Wireless Elite controllers to the wraps. I think they look fantastic. So far, everything we've seen about Doom looks like top tier. I will be very curious to see how it plays. I have not gotten my dirty paws on it. There was a preview event where you had to fly out and do some stuff, but those early previews were good. And so it looks like this is going to be another banger for Xbox, especially for those of us on Game Pass who get to play this stuff for no additional dollar dues, I should say. But that is coming here in just a few short weeks. And so if you want to make your console, if you want to wrap it up and make it look more doomy, you can go ahead and do that. Now, one of the interesting things that also happened this week is that Phil Spencer gave an interview to Variety. Now, this interview took place prior to Minecraft being released. However, it was just posted yesterday, and there's some nuggets that are worth digging out here about how Phil Spencer is opining, if you will, about the future of just gaming and Xbox in general. Because let's be real, Xbox has changed a lot. So let's dive into here. He says, our biggest areas of growth right now are PC and cloud. And I highlight that cloud given what we just saw on the Xbox side, which makes sense since consoles all up are a good business, but they're an established business. They're not really growing segment in gaming. So we've got good growth on PC and we've got growth on cloud. Now, there's a lot to sort of unpack here. First off, Phil Spencer has been talking for literal years that the console market ages 1 year every year. Now, that sounds like a simple statement, but what he's really saying is that the console generation, people like myself, are getting older, and the backfill of new console gamers is not sustainable compared to the outgoing or aging populations. It's just like we're all getting older, and the general age is getting older as well. So that is one thing, but talking about cloud growth. Now, cloud growth, I think, is a bit of a loaded statement in my opinion here, because I don't think it doesn't seem like there's 40 million people using cloud gaming, right? So the percentages on growth at that size are going to be big, but the relative population base is small. Now, PC is obviously a massive demographic, and it's good to hear, at least from Phil Spencer, although they don't ever give us numbers about what this actually means, that they are seeing good growth on the PC side, which really explains a lot. Obviously, they're going to be putting like Indie on PlayStation, Forza on PlayStation here, and so yeah, just kind of keep all that in mind. I just found it interesting that, again, he's really reiterating to the public audience that console growth is a stagnant market, at least when it comes to Xbox, and they can't seem to crack that nut any further than they have. Now, when he talks about numbers, this is an interesting number too. Here he says, there are 3 billion people who play video games on the planet, and I get up every morning to think about how Xbox can be more relevant to the 3 billion people who play. This is so what we know, we're ballparking numbers here, like 35 to 40 million Xbox, what was that, Series X consoles, or I can't remember, Game Pass subscribers, somewhere around that number. That is a fractional percent of even 1 billion gamers. And so Phil Spencer believes that the target demographic for all of their product at the end of the day, or maximum, I should say, available market, would be 3 billion. And so that explains why Xbox is doing the things it's doing, right? They're getting bigger. They're casting a wider net, because Phil Spencer has determined, based on the previous comment, console sales aren't expanding beyond their core demographic, but we've still got 3 billion people out there trying to get our games and entertainment in front of, which really leads into this headline, which was talked about as well. Minecraft movie rises to $553 million. Now, if you've gone on any social media lately, you've probably seen this thing went viral for Chicken Jockey, and there's other things, Lava Chicken and other things happening too. One of the interesting conversations about this if Minecraft was only locked, like, let's go back in time for a second. If Microsoft bought Minecraft and said, nope, we're making this an Xbox and PC exclusive, or even just an Xbox exclusive, would this headline be relevant and viable today? Would it have been such a success? Not everything that Xbox puts out is worthy of a movie, and that's sort of the catalyst of the interview. Like, not everything should be a movie, and not everything does well, right? And so they have, some things hit home runs. This is Minecraft movie is by far a home run, and I'm sure we will see additional Minecraft related content because of how well this movie has done. But at the end of the day, if it was locked to Xbox, would it have done this well? I think the answer is probably pretty easy to answer, and it would be no. It would not have done that well, which is why Microsoft/Xbox likes to cast a wider net, because it leads into other entertainment platforms. At the end of the day, yes, Xbox is a gaming org, but they're also an entertainment company. They've done lots of TV shows, including like Halo, right? Obviously, Minecraft, there's Fallout, there's other things that are floating around out there. And so Xbox continues to try to expand that net so it increases the audience, so that they're going to have more headlines that are $500 million plus for every time they launch a media product for, linear entertainment, as it is sometimes referred to. So the only linear entertainment on this channel, by the way, folks, is me. So make sure to keep it subscribed here, because the BS on this channel is me.